Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another edition of the Old Farts Show. We're all, four of us, are well qualified.
Yes, old and farts.
Yeah. So we have John Byrne, we have Dwayne Weiss, and we have Norman Eichel, and yours truly. Without further ado, I thought we'd just sail into some subjects. By the way, I was talking to Peter Hildebrandt this morning, and Peter gives me the following report. He saw a woman driving her car while texting and steering with her elbows.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. You know, we should have citizens arrests.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Take them, and really, we don't arrest them, but you can hit them hard for a while.
Get a picture of them.
Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now, the Massachusetts General Court, that's what we call it here in Massachusetts, the legislature, is voting on banning handheld devices.
That's right.
And it's now back in the House again. So we'll see what happens.
You'd think they were voting to secede from the Union or something.
Yeah.
Big a deal they're making that.
Yeah. Or to ban war or something.
Yeah, exactly. The other states just said, no, we're not going to allow handheld devices.
That's it.
Not here. Oh, no. Well, one of them says, well, they might racially profile now.
That's right. Yeah.
Because, it might be this, and they might do
the
that.
The blacks have gotten stopped more than whites. Most studies will indicate that. But we're getting away from that. But what they're saying is it'll give the cops one more reason to stop us.
That's ridiculous.
You know what? You're right. But we've never been black. No. You know, and I happened to talk to a black guy that I met in Boston. And we're a very nice guy. It was at a sporting event. I don't know whether it was the Bruins, Celtics, what it was. And we were talking about was it Fenway Park? And we were just talking, blah, blah, blah. And I said, tell me something. Do you guys get stopped as often as it seems to say in the papers and all of that? He said, Bill, I got stopped 7 times in 1 week in Boston.
Oh.
So there's something to it.
There is.
Oh,
yeah.
Anytime you get... Now, my son called me one day when he was just got out of college. He lived in Brighton. He and 2 friends. They got stopped twice down in Roxbury. They were going someplace. They're white guys. What are you guys white guys doing down here? Oh. And they were wanting to search the car, see if they're out buying drugs or something. The same thing. It was just...
Yeah. And you know, I go back, way back, to the days of Charlie Ray and Mickey Campbell being on the police department. Just one guy, alone, one cruiser here in Norfolk. And I used to ride around with both of them. If a black guy, ever drove through Norfolk, right after him and stopped him.
Oh, yeah. There used to be something wrong.
Not surprised.
Yeah. So, they get a bitch.
Because a lot of people get off the train and walk down to the prison and back. And that sometimes opens people's eyes. And, you know, what's this person doing walking? Oh, he's going to the train, or he's going down to the prison.
I'm rare. I'm a very rare person. When I see someone doing that, I stop and pick them up and take them to the prison.
Oh, good for you.
You know, you see some poor old lady, 60 years old, overweight, trying to get down to prison to see her son on a hot day.
Yeah.
It's the least I could do.
Sure.
And by the way, here's the other side of the coin. You can't believe how cautious they are about getting in the car with me.
I would.
Now, there's probably basis for that, you know, but I don't know whether I've been written up in the Boston papers or not. But I've done that, you know, and you know what I feel bad about? We get sidewalks to go down to the cemetery.
Yeah.
After that, you're on your own
Yep.
to the prison. So that's something I have to work on. That's ridiculous that we have a lot of foot traffic
Oh, yeah.
and no sidewalks. All right.
All right, before we get off,
Yes, let's
Norman and I
have something.
Norman and I just want to remind you that Memorial Day is coming. And Memorial Day is a day that we stop and remember veterans here, veterans gone, veterans family. Again, on the 18th, the 22nd, and the 25th at Dunkin' Donuts and the transfer station, there will be representatives of the Norfolk American Legion 335 with poppies. Stop in and talk to them. They'll talk to you, but talk to them. Take a poppy, wear it. And if you feel like it, make a donation. There's no set donation. But right, Norm, what do you got? Norm will be there.
Yeah, well, I've had people ask me, how much is it? I said, these are free. Here, have one. Put it up in the rear view mirror so that everybody can see it. And they're beaming all over. They're very happy to support the veterans. And the little kids, I give my puppies to the little kids, and they have to ask their dad, what is this all about? And Dad tells them. So,
If Dad knows.
well, mostly they do, yeah.
Some do,
Yeah.
some don't.
Yeah.
But watch for us and take part.
And take part and reach into the coffers. Norfolk is a extremely affluent town, and break out a couple of bucks and throw it in the bucket.
That's right.
Don't be a cheapskate.
And then Memorial Day, they'll be going from the Federated Church or in front of the police station to the cemetery for
And back.
And back, yeah. So if you're around and you want to feel good, do it.
You guys, at the end of the parade, you guys going to be up there with poppies too at the Federated Church?
Well, we'll have coffee and donuts, I know. And there'll be poppies probably.
Yeah, maybe that'd be an ideal spot to educate the people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, very good. Well, let's toss out something else. Scott Cusino, the pastor of the Federated Church, is moving to Maine.
Oh, when did he announce that?
Actually, last week. But I talked to him this week about it. I didn't see him. And he's taking over a church in Saco, Saco, Maine. It's kind of up in the air about when he's going to go. They basically said to him, he said, when do I start? And they said, when you get here. So I think he's still shooting for late July, leaving. But that's going to leave a void. Scott's a heck of a nice guy, and I think he's a darn fine pastor.
Yeah. And he's really a good organizer.
He is.
He's run that church like a fine watch. He's got all the programs going, everybody's in place, everything's going, and doesn't seem to be any bickering among anybody there. Everybody cooperates and everybody smiles, and we've been treated really nice there.
I think he runs a tight ship.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he does. And he is very much a detail man.
Yep.
Not too much slips by him. Anyway, I know it's you're going to be around for a while, Scott, but good luck to you in your venture. And I know we'll be talking to you before you leave.
How long has he been here?
10 years? 11 years?
11, I think.
11 years?
It's quite a while.
Yeah. And his wife, Renee, is also a minister, and she's a peach. She really is. She's wonderful. So going to miss them both. Pew Research is, PEW, is one of the more respected research firms. And something hit the wires the other day, and I wrote it down. But Christians are the most persecuted group of people in the world. Do you believe that?
Probably. Because we don't see it as such here, living in a Christian nation, but if you're Christian living in an Islamic nation, look out.
Egypt is slaughters the Coptic
Yep.
Christians, but on a much well, I don't know, sort of almost like anonymously. The Chinese are terrible
Yep.
to Christians. Malaysia, you name it. You go through, and Christians face an uphill battle in a lot of places.
Oh, India's another one.
India is another one, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And the laws, too, in some of the countries, like Japan. That you think of that as being an open community, but it's not. By the way, there was a statistic I saw about Japan that I can't believe. In a trial in Japan, what percentage of people are found guilty?
Oh, I know it's high.
80%? I have no idea.
99.9.
Wow.
I know it's very high.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Wow.
Suzanne, she'll kill me for that, and I were watching the Fox Business Channel this morning, as I do every morning at 9 o'clock, and having our coffee. And Elizabeth Warren floated out another new idea. She's proposed.
Idea du jour.
Yes, this is it. Yeah,
daily,
she's good. Keep throwing mud at the wall, and maybe something will stick.
Yeah.
Her latest. We need $100 billion to fight opioid addiction. My wife has more common sense in her little finger than I have in my body. And she said, what a bunch of baloney that is. Why don't they spend the $100 million on cancer research? Never mind throwing it at addicts. So, someone else last week also floated out the idea that he doesn't really feel sorry for the addicts. They did this themselves. But a 4-year-old kid with cancer, that's someone you can feel sorry for. But how sorry can you feel for someone that takes all kinds of drugs, sticks them in their body, and then, feel sorry for me, I'm an addict? Well, I don't know. But so Suzanne said we should spend it on cancer research rather.
Well, we should spend it on cancer research. The downside, too, of this opioid epidemic is that things like fentanyl is a wonder drug used correctly. The pushback is that it's getting such a bad name that doctors are afraid to prescribe it or use it. And if you got a cancer patient, some of these, it's terrible, terrible pain they go through. They need something like fentanyl. Used to they have to rely on morphine, and morphine wears out after a while, and that's addictive too. But when you're a terminal cancer patient,
becoming addictive
is not a problem.
It's secondary, yeah.
But still, doctors today, a lot of them are afraid to prescribe or give them fentanyl because they're afraid they're going to get sued by some group.
Exactly. It's the same thing with the manufacturers of some of the
Oxycontin, yeah.
Yeah, that they're afraid of being sued. Mm-hmm. Well, what they've done is they've made a great painkiller. They've unfortunately made it too strong.
Yeah.
And so now the addicts want it, so they can grind it up and snort it or smoke it or whatever the hell they do with it.
Whatever's out there, somebody's going to abuse it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's human nature.
There was that, I forgot what it was, few years ago. It was an animal tranquilizer they were using.
Yeah. Yeah, Butte, I think.
Yeah, it made them crazy, It was strong and everything. Well, it was never made for somebody to take it as a recreational drug. It was to...
Yeah, and they're always looking for new drugs to... You know what is interesting, too, is the ones that huff.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
They huff...
the gas out of a spray can, for example, of paint.
paint can or something.
They'll put it, spray it in a bag, then they breathe in the fumes that propel the paint. Or they use gasoline. Another one, they'll take a can of gas and keep breathing and breathing.
Well, if you do something like that, you're taking a hell of a risk.
It just turns them into zombies if it doesn't kill them.
You know, unfortunately, I knew a guy that got hooked up when marijuana first became the thing to do. But he got in with a bunch that had LSD.
Yep.
Overdosed badly. I got to tell you something. He was about as much fun as a houseplant after that. And just about as bright.
Yeah.
I mean, it knocked him completely out of the ballpark.
Kills brain cells.
It does, yeah. I get too few to mess around with that crap, you know?
Yeah.
Boy. Anyway, the drug, by the way, there's one classification of drug abuse the deaths are going up on again. I think it's heroin.
Yeah.
Instead of turning around and, beginning to decline, that's going back up. So they're going to find stuff to use.
Cocaine's on the rise again, too.
Yeah, coke.
Cocaine, it was for a while an elite drug. The Hollywood people used it, the well-to-do. And now it's filtered down into the masses.
The hoi polloi.
But it's so cut.
Yeah.
You don't know what they cut it with.
Talcum powder.
No,
I mean, you
rat
name
poison,
it. Yeah.
stuff that's crazy. That's just nuts.
Yeah, it doesn't come with a money-back guarantee.
Ooh, not
You
at
know,
all.
and if you're taking stuff that a dealer cuts, say 8 to 1 or something like that, 8 pieces of parts of talcum to 1 piece of heroin, and then you happen, you're using that, and all of a sudden somebody gives you something that's full strength,
Oh, yeah.
It'll kill
and you
you.
use the same amount, it's going to kill you.
Yeah, it'll kill you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But you know what? Those people, they are so strung out and so hooked on it that if you said, this could kill you, they're going to take it anyway.
Yeah,
They'll do it anyway. Some
Yeah.
of these guys have gone through 4 and 5 near-death experiences, sometimes 2 times in one day. They'll revive them with, was it Narcan?
Narcan, yeah.
That night again, he overdoses again.
Did you? Dwayne and I watch Live PD,
PD, yep.
on Saturday and Friday and
Friday and Saturday
nights.
night. If you haven't
3
watched
hours.
it, pick it up on
Live
FX.
PD.
A&E.
Live PD, yeah.
Okay.
A&E.
Yeah, A&E,
Do you have
rather.
Comcast?
Oh,
No, you got Verizon?
all right.
You get
All
it.
right. It's 8:37 on Comcast. Get Comcast, and you can find it easy.
I'll find it.
It's on Verizon. Live PD. And so anyway, they were talking, the cops. What they said, hey, remember John holds the record? And the other guy says, yeah, we've brought him back. How many times?
Oh, God.
17 times they have brought him back with Narcan. He said, we had number 18 last night and he didn't come back.
Boy, that's pitiful.
Then they stopped the guy in a car that banged into a light pole in a city. He hopped up on the sidewalk and smacked into a light pole. And they said, wait a minute, is he dead? And then they realized he was overdosed. So they got him out, put Narcan in him, brought him back.
Mm-hmm.
The next night,
There he is again.
there he was again, and this time they couldn't bring him back.
Flat out on the
Unbelievable.
sidewalk. It's just
Unbelievable.
crazy. But you'll see this stuff on that show. It's a live presentation. I'm sure there's a few second delay.
Is it the real people, the real
Oh yeah,
cops or whatever?
they
This
go
is-
with eight
Eight?
different police departments or sheriffs around the country, and they switch from one to the other because you don't know what's going on at any given time. They'll be with one that's, oops, we're shipping over to this one because there's something more interesting going on. What they've done, and this is ingenious. Technically, it's a real tough thing to do. If you notice on the top of their cars, they've got these squares And those are transmitters that transmit whatever they've got doing on the ground to a satellite, which brings it back to New York. So the policemen that are there, and there's a cameraman with them, they're wearing mics and they're filming them or taping them as they go along. Well, that's going to the car, going to the satellite, going to New York to you. Just about the same time it's happening. There is a 5 or 10 second delay in case because it's live. They don't want to show somebody getting shot in the forehead or something.
Yeah,
They don't know sometimes what's going to happen on these things. They go to serve some of these felony warrants. And that guy, he's not too happy about getting served that warrant.
That's right. Yeah. And they'll be in Fort Wayne, Indiana, or something, and there'll be a traffic stop, and the director will say, "Oh, wait a minute, we're going to switch over to South Carolina. Shots fired at an apartment house. Then 2 cruisers are on their way." And
one of the places to go is Warwick, Rhode Island.
yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, the calls to Warwick,
Yeah, it's always drunks or fights someplace.
and the drunks are on sidewalks half the time, laying on sidewalks.
There's one motel, Days Inn or something. They're always there. There's always somebody fighting in the hall or busting up the rooms or something.
And I like it too in Warwick because the cops are always being called to some pizza restaurant or something because the guy has either passed out at the table or refuses to pay. Or there's a sergeant there that works, John Curley.
Yeah.
He's a tough guy. He's it's an entertaining show, and then other nights it's horrible.
Yeah, you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Some nights there's not much going on.
Yeah, it is. It is potluck. South Carolina, it's Columbia, South Carolina. It's a certain county that encompasses
Richmond County. Richmond.
Richmond? No, Richland.
It's Rich something.
Yeah, something. County, and they always got good stuff going on.
But you'll notice very few people south of the Mason-Dixon line have driver's licenses. When they stop them, driver license, I don't have one.
Did they lapse or they never got them in the first place?
A lot of them never got them in the first place.
No, a lot of them was on his 3rd revocation. And,
they don't care.
I don't know. I went to the people at the registry, and they said everything's okay. And the cops are saying, "I'm looking at the computer. It's been revoked 3 times." What do you mean everything's okay?
And how many times they asked for, you got insurance in your car? No, I was just on the way to get it, or I was getting it tomorrow.
Funny you should ask, officer.
That's always the same thing. Or how much you had to drink? 2 beers.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's always 2 beers.
Always 2 beers.
God. Just some great stuff.
Yep.
That behavior gets inbred in certain places,
It does. It really and truly does. Pasco County, Florida is just a little bit south of Tampa, but it's redneck country.
Oh, God,
It's country.
Trailer houses and shacks.
God. I'll tell you, there's some real characters down there. And there's no end to domestic disputes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He hit me with a waffle iron. Well, you kept yelling at me.
But boy, as a local policeman responding to a call, you don't know what you're liable to face.
That's what they tell you on that show.
Yeah, you could end
don't
up
like domestic
You could end up
abuse.
getting shot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Killed. That's amazing.
And sometimes the wife will call the police on hubby is beating the hell out of her. They get there, then she turns on him too.
on
the cop.
Can't win.
We had a call. When I was on the ambulance here in Norfolk, we had a call up to Populatic. A guy had picked up his girlfriend and thrown her at a wall. And she broke her, I don't know, it's the bone in the leg or whether it was the ankle, I don't know. But she broke something down there. So this guy, the cops were, all right, turn around, put your hands behind your back, and we were fiddling with her on the floor. And so they get in a wrestling match. Cops get in a wrestling match with the guy. She gets up with her broken leg and all and jumps on the back of one of the cops.
Oh, yeah.
And what else did I have to do? I pulled her off the cop. Really, I wasn't just going to stand there, but yeah, I mean, you never know.
It's crazy. It really
They get
is.
drinking and
Fighting.
fighting and fussing and amazing. Cops, have got to be strong, smart. They've got to have the wisdom of Socrates. They've got to have excellent judgment, and they have to do everything in a split second.
Especially these days with the environment the way it is.
Oh, man.
It's so anti-law enforcement.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I tell you what, a lot of times you read these stories and everything, the cops are shooting themselves in the foot sometimes, too. It's not all cut and dried one side or the other, to be honest with you.
You'll see both sides of the coin on this program. They don't try to filter anything on the content.
They have some great chases. And the cameraman follows the cop chasing the bad guy in the woods.
Trying to keep up.
And my son Peter, I don't know whether he still watches it or not, but he used to love it when they had the dog.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
The dog would go after them?
Yeah. And Peter would
Chop on his leg or something.
Let the dog bite him.
That dog wants to bite those guys worst way. They have to hold them back.
A lot of those perpetrators, I mean, it seems like they're terrified of dogs.
They're terrified of the dog.
Yeah.
They're not terrified of a cop with a gun.
Crowd control.
It's a dog. Don't let him bite me. Don't let him bite me.
Yeah.
If you had a guy hiding in that closet over there, and you had 3 cops with guns, all right, he'd stay in that closet. But boy, I'll tell you what, you bring the dog in, and it's all over. He doesn't want
People
any
are
part
terrified
of the dog.
Oh, they get a hold of him, they got their arm and they're chewing on him like a bone. They had one, this is a couple of years ago already. He got Pittsburgh, the guy's ear was just hanging by a thread. The dog had gotten him.
Well, I tell you, we laugh about it. But boy, if that dog was biting on you, it wouldn't be funny. But the bad guys don't like any part of the dogs.
Yeah.
And of course, the dog handler doesn't make it any better
No.
either. I'm going to send him in there and he's going to bite you.
Yeah, he will bite you.
Yeah, we laugh about it. It's a different world out there. We live in this safe, dopey little enclave called Norfolk, where nothing happens.
Oh, we got a lot to be thankful for.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, about the biggest excitement we have is if the bride knocks over my glass of milk or something, you know. I mean, things don't happen in Norfolk. And we're very, very, very fortunate. But you watch this show and you eventually say, my God, do people really live like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a thing you'll come
It's an
away with.
eye-opener. And every guy they stop lies.
Oh, my
Anything
God.
illegal in the car? No, sir. Anything in there that's going to hurt me, poke me, stick me? No, sir. No. Do you mind if I search your car? Oh, I don't want you to do that, sir. No, that's private. So then the cop looks around. It's all right. We'll get the dog, and the dog is, and you know this is all black magic. Okay, the dog is going to walk around and sniff the car, and then they say to the guy, "Okay, the dog indicated there's a possibility of drugs in there. We now have justification to search it."
Yep.
They go in there, and they found the one I was watching found 30 bags of marijuana in the trunk and 3 guns in the back seat. Nothing illegal in that car, though.
If they search them and they come out with some crack or something in their pocket, the first thing, it's not mine. It's what's in your pants.
How did it get in
not my pants.
How did it get in your pocket?
No, they're not my pants.
There was a guy
You hear that over and over.
There was a guy on about a month ago. And they searched him and they found a lump in his sock. And they reached in. It was a bag of grass. And the cop says, "What's this?" He says, "I don't know. It's not my socks."
Not my socks.
Almighty. You wonder, what the hell's going on in this
You're
country?
like you can't make up this stuff.
No, you can't. You can't make it up. Here's a very, very, very distressing little argument. You want to talk about bad taste, poor taste. Here's a lady wearing a skirt.
Oh, my God, with the Auschwitz.
This has got pictures of the Auschwitz death camp on it, where over 1 million Jews were murdered and burned in the ovens. And this depicts that. Can you imagine anyone making this stuff
Oh, yeah.
and then selling it?
Yeah.
But better yet, can you imagine
Why would you
anyone
buy that?
buying it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I am at a loss for words. We said after World War II, we will never again allow this to happen. And now, anti-Semitic problems are cropping up on an increasing basis.
Yeah.
Just crashing over tombstones, defacing memorials, savage stuff written on walls and stuff, death to the Jews and all of that.
Stuff you can't erase too with some of the materials they
You
use.
know something? Of all the things that outrage me, one of the things that really burns my butt is the graffiti that these tag artists paint on public property.
Is that they believe they have a right.
Yeah, they're
go and
artists.
paint. Yeah, oh, yeah.
I'm expressing myself. Yeah,
Like a dog peeing on a bush.
that's exactly right. You know, I got to tell you, and the judges, oh, well, now, that's a bad thing to be doing, and I'm going to release you on your own recognizance, but you make sure you don't do this again, because if they bring you in again, I'm going to have to get stern. He's back out painting again the next night. I mean, this is ridiculous. The judges, you know, if you went down the judge's house,
Oh, my,
paint,
yeah.
and you decided to paint black stuff on his walls of his house, and all of a sudden he needs how much does Hilda get for a house job now? $15,000 $15,000? Yeah, and the judge was faced with having $15,000 paint job. Yeah. Oh, would he forgive you for that? Oh, well, it's just
Oh,
a
no.
boy.
Probably
Yeah.
not.
No, I mean,
Catch and release.
catch and release. Yeah.
Now we got 2 DAs now that believe in that, too.
Yeah, we're going to get into that here. I got a little something on
Rollins and the other one there.
that. I got something else that is utterly amazing to talk to you about. When you were growing up, was there something that you couldn't wait for when you were a teenager, John?
Something I could think of. I think of several things, although we're on television, so I don't.
Well, aside from
Can we edit that out?
Other than that, John,
Something that
you couldn't wait for it to finally happen.
Drive,
yeah. There you go. There you go. That's
I was going to
ideal.
say last day of school.
Last day
that
of
too.
school, yeah. But
I think driving was a
Driving,
getting
Rite
a
of passage
license
for-
and
a good
getting a
choice.
car.
yeah.
Guess what? The kids aren't that head up on it anymore. About a quarter of 16-year-olds had a driver's license in 2017. 25% of the kids had a driver's license at the age of 16. That is half the quantity that had a driver's license in 1983. In other words, half the kids had it in 1983. A quarter of the kids have it today.
Here you can't get one at 16 anymore.
Right, that's
You have
part
to
of it.
Yeah, you have to be 16 and a half before you can
That's
start the
right.
process.
Yeah. So these things are skewed a little bit, but they got some other statistics in
But
here,
nationwide,
too.
it's the same thing.
It's down.
They're not. Christ, I can remember turning 16 on like Sunday and Monday's down there getting my permit or whatever.
Sure.
It was, 'cause the day after I turned, I didn't wait.
Right.
Listen, I lived in Norfolk. There was 1,000 people. I was driving on the road when I was 14.
Oh yeah,
All right.
Midwest, we always did.
And you know what the cops said? Mickey and Harold. Don't go out of town.
Yeah.
That was a warning. But there was a kid quoted, that freedom of getting your own wheels and a license and that being the most important thing in your life is gone.
Right.
There are
Right.
other things now.
Not even girls.
Yep. Yeah. This guy is talking about his daughter. He's baffled that his 16-year-old daughter sees no reason to get a license. I went out and immediately got it upon turning 16, the father said. I wanted to get out of the house and go places. For her, getting a license is more like planning for the future. The daughter said, she's content with inviting friends over or hanging out with them after school. Going out to eat is hard, but I can live with it. So the kids are... So what's happening now is used car sales are down. The kids aren't buying. Oh, by the way, the parents interviewed for this said, the price of cars is getting so expensive that I'm not going to push her to get a car. They're talking about buying new cars for the kids.
Yeah, what about used?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my first car, Kribby gave me junks to drive.
Yeah.
The first car I had was a 53 Oldsmobile 98 coupe.
Oh boy!
$225 cost me.
But it gave you basic transportation, and
It did.
it was
It
all
went-
you needed.
And it went like hell.
Oh yeah, I had a '55 Ford Fairlane,
Yep.
and it was good. But in those days, nobody had money,
Yeah.
and all anybody could afford was your part-time job and your used car. I mean,
Yeah.
$50 52 Chevy Power Glide.
PG Power Glide. Oh yeah.
My stepfather had he owned Norfolk Auto, where Kevin Roach hangs out now, and he sold it to them back in the 70s. He would go to Norwood Cadillac was one place he went to, because they'd take cars in trade, and they would not resell them. They'd put it in the back line. That's not good enough for us to sell. So anyway, he'd go down every once in a while, and he'd ask about the cars in the back line, and Albert Johnson was the guy's name. He said, go back and look at them, boy. Go back and look at them. And he'd come back up front and say, I'll give you $100 for the 7 of them. A couple of them, he said, I'm just not going to be able to salvage them, but there's a couple of them that don't look bad. Well, would you be interested in paying me $150, boy?
Mm-hmm.
So then they'd end up with $125, which is where they both knew it was going to go anyway.
Sure.
And then he'd bring the trucks and cars home and fix them up and probably sell them for, I don't know, maybe he'd make $300 off the 7 of them. But those are the cars I got to drive.
Sure.
He'd get it fixed up and have it for sale and put a plate on it and say, all right, you can drive that thing around, you know. I think I drove one of everything.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, it was funny. It was I noticed in our crew, anybody who had a new car, well, they always came from the right part of town, and they used to get the razz by the common folk, Mm-hmm. I mean, not so it was confrontational or it didn't end up in fights and stuff, but they say, oh yeah, that's the guy with the new car or something like that. So that really stood out.
Oh, yeah.
We had a guy in my class, King Philip, first class that graduated from King Philip. His dad gave him a brand new Oldsmobile to drive back and forth.
And
to
it wasn't
work.
for very young. Wow. GM wasn't aiming for the other kid with an Oldsmobile.
It was
we had
a two-tone blue 88.
the two boys were the son of the Pontiac Oldsmobile dealer. They always had the GTOs and the
Lucky them.
442s. And
Which brings up an interesting point. A kid today, say Norman, goes to the registry at the age of 16 and a half, and he gets a license. He passes his test, and they give it to him. Norman goes home at 16 and a half plus 1 day and says, look, Dad, and Dad gives them a GTO.
Wouldn't that have been
Now,
nice?
well, but here's the point. No one hasn't had any instructions on driving a GTO. It's like giving them an atomic bomb. I mean, and these kids, somebody else in school got a Corvette as a graduation present. I said, why the hell don't you just give him dynamite or a gun? He can shoot himself with it, you know? But these people give kids a cars like this, and the kids don't have the slightest idea how to drive it, how to control it, what to do with it. They absolutely have no self-control. Oh yeah, let's see how fast this baby will go, you know.
How often do you think they check the oil?
None, zero.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The gas gauge is right there in front of them.
My son, Paul, I bought a little Dodge Omni for him. I paid $600 for it. I only had 37,000 miles on it. I said, now, Paul, two things. You put the gas in and you check the oil. Oh, okay, Dad. Now, about 1,000 miles later, the engine seized up. He had never checked the oil.
Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't know where the stick was.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man.
These days, you don't even have to worry about that. Most,
they don't
cars
burn
don't have
oil.
dipsticks. They don't have dipsticks.
Yeah,
It's all electronic.
yeah, I
You
know.
get a little indicator like check oil or
Yep.
something like that, but there's no
Yep.
stick anymore.
Yeah, try to find the oil filler, too.
Yeah.
So if there's no stick, how do you check the oil?
There's
It's
a light
gauge.
on the
It's a
dashboard.
gauge.
Comes up on the.
Oh, it tells you how much oil?
Well, it tells you when to add oil.
Okay. But how much oil?
Who knows?
Quart?
Who knows?
Yeah.
It's all black magic.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can't. I mean, I'm tired of opening car engines and looking at them. You can't see a damn thing.
No,
There's
no.
all
There's
this
shrouds and
plastic
covers.
crap every place. Shrouds.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I just figure as long as the key turns over in the engine and the engine starts, that's all I need to
And
know.
the red light doesn't come on.
No, and there's a tip too. If the yellow light comes on, ignore it.
Ignore it.
Yeah. It's only the red light you need to worry about.
It's a check engine
And
light.
you know what? Toyota for years would have the yellow light come on. A check engine or check blah blah or something. You know what it was?
What?
It was that they had that thing programmed to come on when you went so many miles and you needed an oil change.
Okay.
Yeah. And they didn't want you. They wanted you coming back to them.
Sure.
Hey, my yellow light's on. You know, okay, you need an oil change, Norm. Yeah, it's back
And
there.
fan belts.
Yeah, twice the price.
Yeah.
God. Serpentine belts.
Yeah.
Oh, those are terrible.
Yeah. And if you change something, you gotta put a new water pump in too. You can't do. God, I'm telling
The
you.
check engine lights are always coming on.
Yeah.
And they just say ignore it.
Well, that's what Kevin told me. I got two of them on now. Yeah. The traction control and the ABS.
Yeah.
And he said, Bill, it's the same problem. They put it on the scanner.
Yeah.
It's the front left wheel sensor.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not telling the other wheel or the computer how fast it's turning. It's something out of sync. This one's going faster than this one. How the hell can that be? You know?
Yeah.
But oh, God. So anyway, they said, it's an inexpensive part and it's a 1 hour fix. Next time you're coming in for an oil change.
Sure.
We'll look
And
at
both problems will go away.
Yeah.
Then, I had another car, and I said to Kevin, well, how about the ABS light is on? Well, it's like this, Bill. I put the scanner on it, and there's 5 different things it could be. Under the best of circumstances, you're a good customer. I give you every break in the world, but it's going to cost $700 to figure out what's wrong. He says, I got a much better solution for you. I said, what's that? He said, I'll pull the fuse on the ABS.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said, I said, well, I've driven for 40 or 50 years without ABS, automatic braking, and I didn't kill myself, so I know how to pump the brakes. That's that. He said, well, that takes care of that one.
Yeah.
Man.
The other
Kids-
solution,
kids
the solution
are-
is put a piece of tape over that light.
I've done that.
So you don't
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah, so you don't look at it.
I've done
Yeah.
that.
It doesn't aggravate you. Or, so the bride stops talking to me about it. Florida moves a bill along allowing more armed educators. Norman, as a former teacher, where do you stand on arming teachers?
I'm against it because there's so many teachers out there that have no knowledge of firearms.
Oh, yeah.
And
Okay.
if they hired
That a given.
Yeah,
That's a given.
That's
I mean,
a given. No.
the
All right,
little
let
old
me-
English teacher,
Let me
that little
reword it.
Mrs. Jones
Okay.
there, I don't think she
First
should be
of
packing.
all, this is on a volunteer basis. Second of all, you have got to pass tests and be trained on gun, and you have to volunteer to carry it.
right
There's
All right,
probably a
now how
good
do you
chance
feel
you're
about
prior
that?
military.
for teachers.
Yeah.
No, they don't need to be carrying guns. I mean, I was a teacher long enough, and I was lucky. I was in a nice environment, and we never even thought about that.
Well, of course, it wasn't the same then.
right,
There just wasn't anything like
Right.
that.
But things have changed. now.
right, right.
Yeah.
Changed big time
So if
now.
you were teaching today,
But if they hired a professional protector, call him what you want, and that person was in the school, and the bad guys knew he was in the school, and they didn't know where he was, it would probably go a long way.
do you think that that situation would stop one of these mentally unstable people from going in there with an AR-15? I don't think it would, to be honest with you. First of all, I don't think they'd even know the cop was there or the protector was there. But I fully support the idea.
Absolutely, I do
The
too.
guy is ex-military,
Right,
can handle weapons, and he's also a school teacher.
yeah.
You bet I want him armed. If he wants to carry, I'm all for it. I think that's absolutely great thing.
Not even just if you have a trouble with carrying that word, carrying the weapon, have a situation where say he's the chemistry teacher. In his room, someplace is an armed block closet that he can get into. There's a rifle in there for him. Not that he's going to walk around school with it, but if a situation, the alarm rings, he goes and gets it.
Or if you hear pop, pop, pop,
Yeah, or
pop. Yeah,
It's not firecrackers.
No,
that's right. Yeah.
there's got to be somebody on premise today. That 5 minutes that it takes response for the first responders to get there is too late.
Well,
There's too many people getting killed
Here's
by that.
another thing too. You know, down in Florida at that was it Parkland?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
Parkland
it?
was one of them. Yeah.
They really criticized the hell out of that one guy.
Yeah.
The first guy that arrived. Why didn't you go in? Well, I think what finally came out is you're supposed to wait for backup.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to go in by yourself.
right, yeah.
But there was a couple of other things you were supposed to do also. But he really got criticized for not going in there all by himself with a pistol looking for somebody with an AR-15 when it's a tough call. It's a tough call. But I think an armed teacher on the inside is better than a cop arriving on the outside by himself.
Right.
He knows the kids,
Right.
knows the school. He knows the school like the back of his hand.
Right.
First responder coming in, yeah, which way is, where's the sound go? Oh, room 25. Where the hell is room 25? You know, and so I don't know. I think it's a great idea. I personally do.
Well, I was in a small school, and we didn't have any thoughts in that direction because back then it didn't happen anyway.
didn't happen, yeah.
But now we've got these copycats, and they're only young kids, less than 20 years old sometimes.
14.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's low ages.
and they don't realize that they're going to spend the rest of their life in jail.
Well,
They don't think of that.
I know. You know, you're absolutely right, Norm. They don't because they're programmed. They're self-programmed. Something went wrong in their life. They went haywire, and all they have is hatred for the kids in school that laugh at them, the girl in school that rejected him, the teacher that picked on him, whoever it is that's driving him nuts. That's all he can see. You know, he's got tunnel vision. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to get him. It's like the first day of hunting season, you know?
Yeah.
Going in there. And to think that they can stop and stand back and say, wait a minute, what am I doing? If I'm caught, I'm going to spend the rest of my life in jail. Oh, this isn't worth it, and turns around and goes home. No, they're not. They're not rational. There was quite a study on, I think I have it in another folder, on school shootings. Very high percentage had mental problems.
Of course.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Of course.
There's no question about that.
Very high percentage. And a high percentage had been bullied.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about bullying, but it seems to me that other kids are meaner than adults to kids.
Oh, absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
mean,
They're
they're
vicious.
nasty
Absolutely.
little buggers.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call them buzzers, but it started with a B.
Yeah. But, you know, they make kids a life
Yeah.
hell. Look at that little girl out in Western Mass that committed suicide. The girls really started to really bully her because you know what? She went out with the captain of the football team. She was a transfer to that school, hadn't been there that long, and for some reason or other, those girls figured the captain of the football team is ours, not yours.
Yeah.
She's like an outsider.
Our property. He's our dreamboat.
Right.
Buzz off, lady. And they made her life hell. Commit suicide. 15 years old.
And the staff and the adults turned a blind eye.
Absolutely.
I saw that over and over again. Even on school buses, there's a lot of bullying. And now it's the drivers supposed to be controlling that. Well, the driver's busy driving.
He's got a,
Yeah. And not only that, but I mean, we're going to give a $16 an hour bus driver the reins of power here to take care of the kids. Oh, well, this kid's unbalanced. This kid here has got a problem. This kid here is epileptic. And really?
Yeah.
I mean,
If
come
he or she
on.
tries to do something, they're going to get in trouble anyway. The parents are going to come after them.
You want somebody on the bus to control the kids, you got to put a teacher's assistant
monitor.
on the bus.
Bus monitor.
That's
Bus
right.
monitor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gotta. This business about having the driver. Imagine having Peter Hildebert in charge of them all.
Well, he's a good driver.
Peter is.
their kids
and
like
you know
him.
what? And Peter would be good at it.
He's good at
He's
it.
one of the few guys that could probably pull that off.
That's right.
Oh man. All right. We've got some moves here in Massachusetts and nationally to allow felons to vote.
Yeah.
John, how do you feel about that?
they forfeited their rights to. That's the way I feel. Maybe conservative, but they've given up that right. With the types of behavior that these people show, they're going to lose some things. And
You
that's-
are absolutely right. Totally. 100% absolutely right. When they stopped acting civilized, we have to treat them differently.
Sure,
Yeah.
certainly.
And they don't deserve to vote.
Oh, voting's a privilege. It's not an automatic thing.
Bingo.
Right.
Absolutely right.
Just like driving is a privilege.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Absolutely. But Bernie Sanders says, oh no. Nope. They're going to have all the felons voting.
Oh, he's such a fruitcake. Isn't he?
Yeah.
God.
And you know what? Him and Biden are one too.
Yeah.
I wonder if I have. Oh. You know what? A A Boston police officer went out drinking with a couple of strippers down in Providence.
Oh, from the Foxy Lady, probably.
Yeah. And
Yep, the Foxy
got
Lady.
himself pretty well soused. Was up in a hotel room with the two girls. And one of them, I forget exactly what the reason was, but he gave her the keys to his car. And she went down to get something out of the glove box, and there was his Glock. She took it.
Surprise,
And she was
surprise.
going to go sell it.
Oh, gee.
So the cop panics when he finds out what she's done, calls his chain of command, and told them exactly what happened. He got fired.
Oh, of course.
You
Yeah.
can't.
It was a long time coming, but they fired him a couple of days ago. No, they announced it, but they officially terminated him on March 28th for conduct unfit for a police officer.
Yeah.
He did not properly secure his department-issued firearm and gave his vehicle keys to a civilian. Thank God that happened, because you don't want somebody like him carrying a gun and a badge around. My God.
And then who would she sell it to? Not a
anybody.
law-abiding, upstanding citizen.
No, but
Now let's think about this for a second. She's a stripper in one of the nightclubs.
Yeah.
You don't suppose she knows somebody that works there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There's probably 8 or 10 weapons in the back room for sale.
That's right.
And a Glock 40.
it's a powerful weapon.
I don't know what the devil it goes for on the street, but I'll be willing to bet you $1,000.
Sure.
Oh, yeah,
At
new
least.
at 16, 1800 bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see that thing on the news this morning? I think it was in New Hampshire. They got a guy. They arrested. They went to his house, broke into his house. He had over 1,000. I think it was over 1,000 weapons.
Yeah. There was pictures
This
of
is-
it on the news.
I've never seen so many guns. I've seen armories from reserves and stuff, but I've never seen this many
Yeah.
weapons. There were
Thousands.
thousands. Unbelievable.
Now, were they legal? Were they registered? Or was this just stuff he had picked up illegally?
They said he was manufacturing some of them.
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't quite get that. Maybe he was modifying them.
I think
Yeah.
probably he was flying under cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be interesting to follow up on that.
Because having a lot of weapons, where I come from, Monica's brothers, a couple of them,
Yeah.
they got big cabinets. If today around here they'd walk in, my God, the guy's got an armory. He's got 15, 20 rifles, some shotguns, handguns.
He's a
but
collector.
Do you know,
no, he's a hunter.
when you're a hunter, you want to go out after squirrels, you got a 22 rifle. You want to go out after deer, you got a 30,
306.
30-06 or a 223 or whatever. You're going after birds, you need a shotgun.
12 gauge.
We need about 3 or 4 shotguns.
20 guns.
2, 10, 16, 20, 12.
Yeah, and then, so you have a couple of handguns. Everybody carries out there. So you have a revolver. You've picked up a couple of automatics or a couple of revolvers in your life. So you got 6 or 8 guns in your house. So what?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, give me a break. However, somebody with 1,000, well, that's
Yeah,
another story.
That's
And
strange.
we just got the old sign from our producer, Jen, that it's time for us, we've talked long enough, it's time for us to wrap up. So, friends, thank you for tuning in. I'm sure you enjoyed it. I'm sure you learned a lot.
Oh,
And I'm sure you're anxious for us to come back in another couple of weeks. So stay tuned. We'll be back.
So long.
Good night. Or good
Arrivederci.
afternoon. Or whatever.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.